Ever wonder why certain characters or stories just stick with us, feeling profoundly meaningful? It might be because they're secretly shaped by one of the rarest, most empathetic personality types, the INFJ. Get ready to see your favorite movies, books, and even music in a completely new light, as we uncover the subtle, yet powerful, influence of the advocate on pop culture. The best way to understand INFJ influence is to begin with the lens itself. Picture a storyteller who sees patterns beneath the surface, reads motives behind smiles, and quietly designs a path toward a better ending. They're not loud architects, they're careful ones. Their sway is like roots feeding a forest, unseen, yet essential. INFJs are often summarized by 4 letters: introversion, intuition, feeling, judging, and each piece matters for cultural impact. Introversion isn't shyness, it's a power source that charges ideas in solitude. So much creative work happens in the quiet, drafts, demos, storyboards, long before a premiere, and INFJs thrive there, incubating meaning until it's ready to share. Intuition is their pattern radar. They connect dots across time, genre, and theme, noticing how a childhood wound resurfaces in Act 3 or how a melody in the bridge resolves a lyric from verse 1. This sensitivity to structure and echo produces narratives that feel inevitable even when they surprise us. You finish and think, of course, it had to end this way. Feeling, for INFJs, isn't just emotion, it's values. They constantly ask, what does this do to people? Their influence pulls art toward moral stakes, empathy, and transformation. Thrillers keep a human pulse and comedies carry a conscience. Judging provides design and closure, not rigid rules, but elegant order. Symmetry, meaningful callbacks, and endings that are earned, even when they're not neat, turn raw feeling into a crafted experience. Put together, these elements create a quiet, intentional, deeply human force that pushes pop culture beyond spectacle into soul work. That's why the nickname, Advocate, matters. Advocates champion meaning, not fame, authenticity, not trend chasing, and societal improvement, not empty buzz. When INFJ energy touches a script, a novel, or an album, the theme sharpens first. Plot is no longer just what happens, but why it matters. We're nudged to face injustice, grief, identity, and forgiveness, and we're asked to care about strangers. Characters deepen too. Even villains gain logic, pain, or a twisted compassion. Instead of cartoon evil, we get mirrors we're afraid to face, which makes stories sticky long after opening weekend. And hope shows up, responsibly. It isn't cheap optimism, it's earned hope, the kind that acknowledges the cost of truth and the price of change. This is why so many sleeper hits gain cult status. They feel true in a way that lingers. INFJ energy bends culture toward conscience, not just consumption. And yet, the influence is paradoxically easy to miss. INFJs do their best work in the quiet choices. A line that lands like a hug, a cut that honors a character's dignity, a scene allowed one extra beat so we can actually feel the choice. It's not about the trailer moment, it's about the afterglow. Subtext replaces shouting, letting audiences connect the dots with a glance or a recurring symbol. Even inside big franchises, this lens draws the camera closer to faces. Explosions may dazzle, but the heartbeat is louder. The result is subtle, not neutral, because these stories retain a moral spine. They don't sermonize, they humanize. You don't feel lectured, you feel seen. Consider how that plays out in practice. A coming-of-age drama without INFJ energy might run on clever banter and prom night melodrama. With it, the camera lingers on a parent's apology, the ripple effects of a rumor, and a final decision that reveals the protagonist's values. The climax isn't louder, it's truer. In sci-fi, INFJ influence steers us toward interior dilemmas. The ethics of a new technology, the cost of survival, the integrity of leadership. The wow serves the why. In music, it surfaces as confessional lyrics and narrative arcs across tracks. Motifs return in the last song and break you a little, delivering coherence and catharsis in equal measure. Audiences respond, even if they can't name the type. First comes resonance. I don't know why that hit so hard. It's because the story honored something sacred, grief, loyalty, conscience, and handled it with care. Then reflection. I saw myself. The screen becomes a mirror, and you leave knowing more about your own choices. Finally, retention. I'm still thinking about that scene. Subtext lingers, symbols echo, and your mind keeps connecting dots after the credits. Influence isn't just weekend revenue, it's a recalibration of what we expect from storytelling. Under the hood, there are craft moves that betray an INFJ signature. Foreshadowing functions like a promise. Early details align with late revelations so that the twist is both shocking and fair. Moral frameworks are baked into structure. The midpoint is a values test, and the finale resolves an inner conflict, not just an external enemy. Character privacy is respected. Trauma is often implied rather than exploited, which preserves dignity while deepening empathy. Symbols do heavy lifting, keeping the canvas uncluttered and the signal strong. And closure has room to breathe, leaving a window open for the audience to live with the implications. The story ends, the conversation doesn't. Yes, INFJs are considered rare, but rarity here isn't superiority, it's specialization. When fewer people share a lens, those who do become curators for a particular kind of meaning. They notice what others skip and protect what others rush. Give them a seat in the writer's room, the edit bay, or the notes meeting, and the final product tilts toward empathy and purpose. That tilt doesn't kill spectacle, it anchors it. Big can be beautiful when it's also honest. Of course, every lens has a shadow. INFJs can overprotect a theme, cut scenes that feel false to their inner compass, or resist messy ambiguity. Paradoxically, that tension can still refine the work. Healthy collaboration balances the advocate's why with the producer's how and the audience's wow. When those click, you get cultural moments that are both compelling and conscientious. We live in a noisy era where algorithms reward volume, but INFJ influence quietly argues for depth, coherence, and humanity. As more creators with advocate energy shape the stories we stream and share, whether blockbuster or indie, we'll see a bolder willingness to be soulful in public. That doesn't mean dour, it means deliberate. Depth becomes the new flex. The projector clicks, the lights dim, and what lingers isn't just a spectacle but a conversation with your conscience. And if you've ever felt like a story somehow knew you, chances are you just brushed against an advocate behind the scenes, guiding the narrative towards something that matters. In the next part, we'll trace this energy through beloved characters and recurring archetypes and decode the quiet choices that make them unforgettable. Let's zoom the camera from the lens to the people who carry it. If part 1 was about how INFJ energy works, part 2 is about where you can feel it, those characters, creators, and creative choices that quietly tilt pop culture toward conscience. You don't need a chart to spot it. You can sense it in the way certain stories pause on dignity when everyone else rushes for drama, or how a song's final refrain returns with a new moral weight. That's the advocate at work, shaping the experience so the heart has time to answer. You've met the INFJ-coded mentor 1,000 times, even if the credits never call them that. They're the guide who won't steal the spotlight, the one who trades applause for alignment. They don't bark orders, they ask questions that turn the protagonist into a mirror. When a hero wavers, this mentor doesn't shove them forward. They create a space where the truth is safe enough to be heard. The archetype can wear many outfits: teacher, priest, strategist, older sibling. But the signature move is the same. They protect the meaning of the journey, not just the success of it. Then there's the visionary outsider, an INFJ-coded figure who stands half in the world and half above it, reading patterns the crowd misses. They're rarely the party's loudest voice. They're the person who sees the trap 3 scenes before it snaps. Their gift is synthesis, moral philosophy plus human insight plus story math. When the group wants easy answers, they slow everyone down long enough to find a better question. You'll spot them by the way they resist dehumanizing solutions, even when those would be expedient. They're the conscience under constraint, a tension that keeps drama honest. A third silhouette appears in social issue dramas, superhero reboots, and even romantic comedies: the healing leader. Where some leaders command, INFJ-coded leaders hold. They hold tension between competing values, hold the team's pain without dumping it back, hold the line on who they refuse to become in pursuit of victory. Their power isn't dominance, it's direction. Notice how the camera often finds them alone for a beat, fingers on the edge of a desk, eyes on a horizon only they can see. In that breath, the story reminds us leadership is less about control and more about responsibility. If you shift mediums to music, you'll find the same fingerprints. Concept albums with narrative arcs, lyrics that confess without spectacle, bridges that resolve motifs seated in track 1, all hallmarks of INFJ sensibility. The artist doesn't just produce bangers, they architect a pilgrimage. The sequencing itself becomes a moral journey: disillusionment, reckoning, confession, integration, hope. The last chorus rarely lands as naive triumph. It lands as changed vision. What we believed earlier is still precious, but now it's deeper, humbler, and truer. That's earned hope in stereo. Even video games carry this energy when the design invites contemplation over dopamine. Think of titles that force you to sit with consequences, where the choice screen lingers, where NPCs aren't loot dispensers but people with histories that complicate your appetite for winning. INFJ-coded design respects player agency while insisting on moral gravity. The reward loop isn't just gear, it's growth. You leave not simply leveled up, but also subtly re-leveled on compassion. What makes these archetypes more than aesthetic is the craft behind them. INFJ influence shows up in the architecture of scenes. Watch for conversations that move in concentric circles rather than straight lines. The characters orbit the truth until both are brave enough to land. Notice how exposition hides inside acts of care: bandaging a wound, pouring tea, returning a lost object, so information arrives as intimacy, not lecture. Observe the edit that grants silence the dignity of its own beat. The scene could cut sooner, but it doesn't, because meaning needs oxygen. These micro-decisions don't trend on social media, but they make the story live longer in you. There's also a signature way INFJ energy reframes antagonists. The advocate is allergic to cardboard evil. That doesn't mean villains get softened, it means they get context. We understand their wound, their rationale, their self-justifying myth. When the hero finally opposes them, the victory isn't cruelty triumphant over a caricature, it's clarity refusing a lie. This keeps the audience honest too. We're not just chanting for punishment, we're discerning the cost of becoming what we hate. That friction is uncomfortable, and that's exactly why it matters. Behind the camera, you'll find INFJ sensibility in roles that quietly command the story's soul. editors who protect the breadth of a scene, script doctors who replace a speech that explains with a moment that reveals, showrunners who build rooms where actors feel safe enough to risk vulnerability, lyricists who find the one image that tells the truth without exploiting the wound, casting directors who sense the chemistry that transforms lines into lived reality. None of these jobs demand a megaphone. They demand a compass. The audience, especially the INFJ slice of it, plays a role too. If you've seen long threads unpacking a symbol planted in episode 2 that blooms in episode 8, that's advocate energy in the crowd, rewarding intentional storytelling with intentional attention. When communities champion media that treats trauma with dignity or relationships with reciprocity, market metrics shift. Studios notice. What gets greenlit next is shaped by the conversation we sustain now. Cultural influence isn't only top-down, it's a feedback loop between creators who care and viewers who don't let nuance die. Of course, the same virtues can calcify into vices without balance. An INFJ-coded writer can over-curate the message, sanding off chaos that a story needs to feel alive. A director might protect a character's privacy so fiercely the audience never gets inside their ape. An album's concept can become a cage. The fix isn't to abandon the lens, it's to collaborate with complementary ones. Pair the advocate's moral geometry with a perceiver's play, a thinker's logic check, an extrovert's pace. You don't dim INFJ influence, you tune it, like adding percussion so a string section can soar. If you're a creator wanting to harness this energy, start at the wound, not the theme. Ask, what hurt made this character who they are? Let the theme emerge from the way they love, avoid, bargain, and finally surrender. Build a midpoint that forces a values choice, not just a plot pivot. Plant a symbol in Act 1 that you can break, redeem, or return in Act 3. Give your antagonist the self-story that makes them dangerous, because it's almost convincing. Protect moments of silence the way you protect budget. And when you reach for hope, make sure it costs something measurable. An apology delivered, a power relinquished, a path not taken. Hope without sacrifice is confetti. Earned hope is a cornerstone. If you're a viewer, you can spot INFJ signatures by watching for the aftertaste. Do you feel gentler towards someone you don't understand? Do you want to text a friend and apologize? Did a throwaway line return hours later as a thesis? Did the ending refuse to solve your life but invite you to live it better? Those are telltales. Another clue, the presence of mercy without naivete. When a story can hold your anger and still ask you not to dehumanize, that's advocate work, courage wrapped in tenderness. What excites me most is how this influence scales. In huge franchises, INFJ energy delivers character-first arcs that make spectacle feel necessary rather than decorative. In indie corners, it births intimate narratives that become word-of-mouth phenomena, not because they're loud, but because they're loyal to the truth. In music, it's reshaping how we think about virality. Less about a 10-second hook, more about an experience listeners want to inhabit for years. Even on short-form platforms, you can feel the countercurrent. Creators layering subtext, honoring consent, modeling repair. The rare type doesn't need to be common to be catalytic. And maybe that's the quiet headline. The advocate doesn't conquer culture, they cultivate it. They plant meanings that grow in us, sometimes without our permission. They teach us to crave coherence over chaos, compassion over cynicism, responsibility over spectacle. Not because they preach, but because they show us how good a story can be when it tells the truth about people, and then dares to love them anyway. If part 1 handed us the lens, part 2 has shown us the faces who wear it and the choices that prove it. In the final stretch, we'll bring it home, practical checkpoints for creators and fans to strengthen this kind of storytelling. So the next time something sticks to your ribs, you'll know exactly why it tasted like grace.